The book of Psalm, chapter 138 and verse 2. I will worship toward thy holy temple and praise thy name for thy loving kindness and for thy truth. For thou hast magnified thy word above all thy name. Before I get started, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to you, hopefully elect. This is your fellow servant, Yahweh call from the Great Millstone, Orlando branch, and just through the Spirit, because touching on last night's camp, dealing with how everything is subject to the Lord's will, everything's subject to prophecy. All right, which prophecy, is just to say before it happens, and the grand scheme of things, when it comes to the will of the Heavenly Father, something that was already written out, everything starting from the beginning of time all the way to the times that we're in right now, the end time prophecies. All right, everything from World War III to the MOTB, these things have already been written out in the spiritual realm. It's just a matter of it playing out in our lifetime. All right, because again, to go back to the point how everything's subject to the Lord's will, everything's subject to prophecy. And that's why I read this here in Psalm 138 and verse 2, the latter part of verse 2. Again, it says, for thou hast magnified thy word above all thy name. Because again, you see the Lord, he stands on business. All right. He stands on business. And whatever the Lord said, like the scriptures say, his words don't come back void. It's going to happen. You see, because again, we were touching on last night's camp about, even going into the whole, like I mentioned with World War III, because these nations, for the most part, they don't want to go to war. All right, but they can't understand this force that's leading them to war. Because as we were touching on, even going back to the history that Vladimir Putin was bringing out with Tucker Carlson, and how he was going through that history with Russia, with them Russians, and basically going into it how they tried to be the peacemakers. They tried to be at peace. But like I said, these nations, people can't understand the driving force that's leading them, gearing them towards war. Well, why is that? Because again, everything is subject to the Lord's, his will. Everything is subject to prophecy. You see, we get this in Romans. Bear with me. That's Romans chapter 9. Romans chapter 9 and verse Romans 9 and 19. It says, thou wilt say then unto me, why doeth he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will? You see, I'm gonna read that in the NLT. Yeah, Romans 9 and 19 in the NLT. Well then, you might say, why does God blame people for not responding? Haven't they simply done what he makes them do? So you see, because oftentimes when it comes to Esau, the so-called white man, people give this devil too much credit. Give him too much credit, because even when it comes to Esau Edom, the so-called white man, right, and certain technologies that he has, all right, Because as far-fetched as it may sound, you know, as far as Esau and his capabilities, you know, because when we go into the left-hand power that was given to Esau Edom, it in fact does sound far-fetched. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai did allow Esau to get to a certain point as far as his technology to fulfill, again, the Lord's will. You know, because ultimately, with the power that Esau has as far as his technology, you know, ultimately, to bring that MO to be to flow, you know. So I was going to make the point with the Esau Edom, because you look into certain technology that Esau has, like, what do you call it, the MK Ultra, right? Which, if you don't know what that is basically mind control, right? And like I said, people give these devils too much credit, all right? Because I always make the point, you know, we are all MK Ultra, pretty much, by Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. You know, we're all being mind controlled by Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Like I said again in the NLT, in Romans 9:19. It says, well then, you might say, why does God blame people for not responding? Haven't they simply done what he makes them do? So you see, we're all MK Ultra, all right, by Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Because again, everything and everyone is subject to prophecy. Everything and everyone is subject to the Lord's will, all right? And that's why, you know, due to the Spirit, I read that Psalm 138, you know, because, again, the Lord, he stands on business, you know. And that Psalm 38 in verse 2, like it read, you know, the Lord, he holds his word above his name. You see, so you could bet your top dollar that, hey, what the Lord said was going to happen is going to happen eventually. You know, eventually it will come to pass. You see, because everything is subject to the Lord's will, man. Let me get this in 2nd Edges 4. 2nd Edges 4. I'm going to start at verse 34. 2nd Edges 4 and 34. And he answered me, saying, do not thou hasten above the Most Highest, for thy haste is in vain to be above him, for thou hast much exceeded. Because, of course, now, you know, as far as the hopefully elect, man, we want to be out of here yesterday. You know, so that's why we're in that hasteful spirit, like, Lord, you know, when are you going to, you know, because, hey, if it was up to us, hey, and brother mentioned it he said it last night, man, we would just fast forward the process. We would just fast forward to the kingdom already, you know. But hey, everything is subject to the Lord's will. Everything is subject to prophecy. So that's why we just have to sit back and wait for these things to play out, man. All right. Verse 35, it says, did not the souls also of the righteous ask question of these things in their chambers, saying, how long shall I hope on this fashion? And when cometh the fruit of the floor of our reward? Because, you know, and this is, again, the spirit that the elect are always been in, you know, hasting. All right, you got some people that, and I'm talking about Jake in the truth, that they basically try to force the Lord's hand, you know, and they try to force the Lord to make a move, which, you know, it's like you kicking against the pricks, man. You're only hurting yourself. You know. It says, bear with me. Bear with me real quick. Actually, I'm going to jump up. The 2nd Edges 4. I'm going to jump up to verse 28. 2 Edges 4 and 28. But as concerning the things whereof thou askest me, I will tell thee, for the evil is sown, but the destruction thereof is not yet come. If therefore that which is sown be not turned upside down, and if the place where the evil is sown pass not away, then cannot it come that is sown with good. You see, because again, before we get the kingdom, what the Lord said, what the Lord set up to happen, all right, it has to happen. It has to play out. You see, and this is, you know, again, a part of the grand scheme of things when it comes to the will of Yahweh Shema Shai, all right. And that's why more and more I've been just thinking about just, and I did a video on it last week, just as, you know, having that ability to be able to zoom out and just look at the bigger picture of things, you know, because one of the things, because like I said, you know, like the point was brought out last night at camp, you know, if it was up to us, we would just fast forward into the kingdom. But, you know, a part of the will of Yahweh Shema Shai, you know, because the world is a classroom for the elect, all right? The world is a classroom for the elect. So, Lord, when we are that number, the Lord is teaching us, He's teaching us certain things, you know, along the way. All right, Lord willing, again, we're at that number. We're learning to rule righteously. All right, you know, judges in the making. You know, Lord willing, man. You know, and you see, because that's why, again, a part of the Lord's will. You know, He's allowing this wickedness to be stacked up to a point where we understand why judgment is necessary. We understand why judgment is needed. You see, we see why judgment is needed, all right? You know, get another one. Bear with me real quick. Bear with me. You know, 2 Edges 7. 2 Edges 7. I'm going to start at verse 41. Even so now, seeing corruption is grown up, and wickedness increased, and the righteous have prayed for the ungodly, wherefore shall it not be so now also? He answered me and said, this present life is not the end, where much glory doeth abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak. Verse 7, or Slakia, verse 43. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality for the time to come. Slakia. And the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past. You see, so again, you know, because a part of the Lord's will, you know, understanding both sides of the spectrum as far as being judges. All right. And that's the thing with a judge, you know, he knows both sides, all right, the righteousness and the wicked, the good and the bad. And this was a necessary for the sons of God, again, on the grand scheme of things. This was a necessary lesson, a necessary evil that the elect had to experience, all right. You know, again, Lord willing, for to be proper judges in the world to come, which when you read in 2 Edges 8, it talks about that, starting at verse 1. You know, the word that's made for few, you know, that's being prepared for a small select few, starting with Yahweh Shai first and foremost. All right. You see, man. So this is why the Lord's getting ready to bring judgment. All right. And hey, we're with it. You know, we're with it. We see why it's necessary, why it has to happen. All right. You know, there's no trying to run from it. You know. But nevertheless, it has to happen, though. It has to play out. You see, because the Lord said it was going to play out, man. You know, this is just how the Lord. This is how He wrote the movie. You see, so that's why we're seeing the growing pains, the birth pains. All right, and again, people can't, you know, as far as these leaders, like I said earlier, they trying to, you know, figure out the driving force that's pushing them to war, when these nations, they don't want to go to war, right? And I be thinking like, um you know like I said, as much as these nations don't want to go to war, as much as the you know when it comes down to pressing those red buttons for the nukes to fly, even if they don't do it, hey, the angels gonna do it. Because this is the will of Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, this is the will of Yahweh Shema Shai, and this has to take place in order for us to obtain the kingdom and obtain that immortality. These things have to happen. All hell has to break loose. All right, you see, because it's only going to usher in Yahweh Shai's second coming. All right, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. It's only going to usher in Yahweh Shai's coming. You see, so whether you're with the program or not, either way, it's going to happen. It has to happen because the Lord said it was going to happen. Because the Lord, again, He stands on business. All right, and everything's subject to His will. So just real quick, Lord willing, that was edifying. All praises to Yahweh Shema Shai. Shalom to you, hopefully elect.